There's going to be a lot of eventful happenings. And as I have said, that will ensure that even if you have missed a certain stop, even if you have not been able to concentrate while we have been on this ship, on this ocean, we'll ensure that we are going ahead and we are revising whatever we have done on the previous day, so that we don't miss out on anything and we are able to successfully cross this ocean and be a perfect devotee, understand what is pure devotional service, and go and reach to that level. So we'll continue our discussions now. Just a second. Yeah. I think some problem with my laptop. Just give me a minute. Yes. Okay, great. So I'm just opening the presentation so that we can continue from where we have left behind and we revise properly. Since Zoom is not, yeah, now it has got loaded. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatam Mudirayat Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So we first of all offer our obeisances to the Shat Goswamis as usual, because it is only because of their efforts that we have got this knowledge and this understanding. Please repeat after me, all of you, and if possible, please have your videos on so it becomes useful for us to understand who all are concentrating. Nana Shastra Vicharnika Nipano Saddharma Sanstapakau Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakarau Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajananandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So we'll start with our revision. So what we have covered till now is the preface and the introduction part, and we are going to continue with the chapter 1 today. So in the preface and the introduction part, what we have understood is what is the importance of Mangalacharan, what is going to be covered in this book, and what is pure devotional service. So Mangalacharan, which is auspicious invocation, wherein we invite all the auspiciousness to come to us as we are traversing this journey. So Mangalacharan in turn has got three objectives. One, it defines what is the objective, why we are inviting, why we are asking for auspiciousness. Two, the author is able to give his obeisances to all his spiritual masters and the Almighty Lord. And three, even the readers have the opportunity to receive the blessings. And that is why Mangalacharan was important. Coming to the book, this is Ocean of Nectar of Devotion, which is divided into 4 waves or subsections. The Purva Vibhag helps us to understand what are the different types of devotional service. The Dakshin Vibhag will tell us about the rasas. The Paschim Vibhag, the western side, will talk about the primary rasas, and the northern side, Uttar Bhag, will talk about the secondary rasas. Pure devotional service, it has got Swarupa Lakshanam and Tathastha Lakshanam. Among Swarupa Lakshanam, we have understood Anukullena Krishnanu Shilanam. So these are the four waves of the ocean which we have seen. So eastern side is something which is most important because it is going to talk about the different types of devotional service. And as we start the first chapter, it is going to start directly from devotional service, PDS. So we have four types of bhaktis: Samanya Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. So Samanya Bhakti is general. It's just that we are becoming devotee. So that is what is going to be covered in chapter 1 now. Sadhana Bhakti, wherein we are going to understand how to practice devotional service, which will be covered in chapter 2 to 16. And then we have Bhava Bhakti, which is in ecstasy. What happens when we go into ecstasy of love for Krishna? That will be covered in chapter 17, 18. And the culmination of all that is going to be chapter 19, which is devotional service in love of God. So this is how we are going to be progressing. This is the definition of pure devotional service. So we have got two definitions, the shloka number 11 and shloka number 12. All those of you who remember these shlokas. Anyabhilashita shunyam anukullena anushilanam and jnana karmadi anavritam. So these are the definitions, important aspects which are mentioned in shloka number 11. First thing is, it has to be devoid of all desires, it has to be favorable to Krishna, and it has to be cultivated in such a way that we are following the footsteps of our acharyas. And it should not be covered by karma and jnana. So jnana karmadi anavrita. Then the second definition which we have seen of devotional service is sarvapadi vinirmuktena tat pratvena sevanam and nirmalam. So it has to be free from material designations. We have to take Lord Krishna as the highest object. We have to do sevanam, that is service, and it has to be faultless, nirmalam. So Swarupa Lakshana, we have understood are three: Anukullen, Krishna, and Anushilanam. And Tathastha Lakshana are Anyabhilashita Shunyam and Jnan Karmadi Anavritam. Three characteristics which we have to remember of Swarupa Lakshana: that devotional service is for Krishna, it is an active engagement, and it has to be done with favorable intent. Tathastha Lakshana, we have already seen Anyabhilashita Shunyam and Jnan Karmadi Anavritam. So when we say Anyabhilashita Shunyam, it means free from ulterior motive. Anya is other, Abhilashita is integral desire, and Shunyam is void. Now coming to chapter 1, for which before we understand, we have to understand what level we have to reach, and that is why it gives an introduction here to what is pure devotional service. It has got 6 characteristics. It is Klesagni, it is Shubhada, Moksha Laghukrata, Su-durlabha, Sandranandana-visesatma, and Krishna-akarshini. So our discussion today is going to be mostly on these 6 characteristics, which we will see in subsequent slide. So let us understand what are these 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. So when we mentioned Klesagni, that was the word that we took for. It means the pure devotional service is going to give us relief from material distress. Now, all of we have been attending the lectures, we have been understanding what is bhakti, and we have understood what is our real identity. All of us know that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul, which is captured in this body. And this whole world surrounding us is basically a prison house. And we are prisoners here. The reason why we are here is somehow or the other, our ego, it hurt. And that is why we thought, why only Krishna should enjoy? Why only he should be the bhogi? why we cannot also become yogi? Now we are part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna immediately understands whatever we think. And he tells, oh, don't think so. It is not good. You're not supposed to think this. But we don't understand. We don't agree. So Krishna says, okay, it's your choice. Tathastu. And to help us understand what he does is, he creates this material universe. So this material universe is something which is already created by Krishna. But because we have made a mistake, he sends us here, and we feel that okay, we have come here because we are now going to enjoy. But actually, this is a place for our reformation. One of the objectives why Krishna creates worlds, Krishna creates this material world, is for our reformation, so that we reform ourselves and we get back to Krishna Lok, which is the actual place where there is no distress of any kind. In material world, actually there is continuous distress. And moreover, this is not permanent place. This is a temporary place, a prison house. Just like any city has prison houses, wherein if we have got any person who has done any antisocial activity, what we do as per the law of the land, we capture him and then we put him in prison. Now, why is he not allowed to continue staying in the society? So that he does not repeat the same actions again and disturb the peace-loving citizens which are staying peacefully. And that is why all antisocial elements are captured and put in prison. But the objective of putting them in prison is so that their free will, which has made them become an antisocial element, which has made them become a rogue, can be converted. They can suitably be trained. A reformation can happen. And once they have served their prison sentence, they are reformed, then they are left and they again come back to the society and become a part of the society as normal citizens. So if in material world, we humans have created prison house for this objective, just think the kind of activity which Krishna has done. He has not only created this material world for our reformation, what he has done, I also want you to understand what are the implications of your free will. So he has created 84 lakh different kinds of species. And whatever we desire, we accordingly go and sit in one of the species. We try to enjoy, but then we understand this is all useless, futile, because after a certain period, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi is the only Shashwata truth. So we go a process called as Dehantara, because we die and we have to take a new body depending upon our activities. So we can never get happiness. And so we are always in distress. Krishna has declared it clearly, Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. So if you have to get out of this distress, the only solution is that we get into pure devotional service, Shuddha Bhakti. And that is one of the important characteristics of a pure devotional service, that we no longer have any kind of material distress. Now, how many of you want to get out of your material distress? Almost all of you, right? Please raise your hands. Have your cameras on and raise your hands. So, if we have to achieve it, we have to reach this level of pure devotional service. Now, let us see the second benefit. The second benefit is, it is going to give us all auspiciousness. See, all of us, we are parts and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. He is Sat, he is Chit, and he is Ananda. And since we are also part of Krishna, we also want all kinds of auspiciousness to come to us. But because we are entrapped in this material world, and we are captured by the trigunas, we are not able to have that auspiciousness. What your devotional service does is it bestows all kinds of auspiciousness on us. So that is the second characteristic. The third, we no longer require liberation. You will find there are so many people who say they are devotees, they follow this practice, they follow that practice. And why do you do this? They will say, we want to have moksha. And what is moksha? Moksha, they say, is the brightness. It's an illumination. It's effulgence. Brahman. Brahma Jyoti. We all want to go there. We want to be liberated from all of this. But we forget that what actually this effulgence is, what this Brahma Jyoti is basically the illuminance of the body of Krishna. Krishna in Sanskrit means all attractive. So Krishna is very, very attractive. His body is glowing. Once, Srila Prabhupada was giving lecture in Africa. So when he was giving the lecture, he said, Krishna is black in color. All the devotees who had come there for the lecture, they were not yet devotees, black in color. So they all became very happy. We are black, Krishna is black, so Krishna is our God. Prabhupada ji, by looking at their faces, could understand what they are thinking. So he immediately said, yes, he is black, but not black like you. His black is something which gives out the illuminance. Generally, black color that we see in material world is something which absorbs all the light. And Krishna's black color is such that he does not absorb light, but he gives the light. And it is his illuminance which is seen as Brahma Jyoti. So those who are striving to go only till Brahma Jyoti level will never go beyond that. And even in Brahma Jyoti, even in liberation, what we are is, we are in a vacuum. We are lonely. We have nothing to do. So for how much time we can be like that? So we immediately have a fall down. But we feel happy that we are liberated. We have got moksha. What pure devotional service does is, it makes us understand there is something which is beyond that. And so we are no longer happy. We don't want that happiness of liberation. We deride it. We say it's of no use. No, I don't want to go into Brahman. I want to go beyond that and serve his lordship. Fourth characteristic, if it is something so unique, definitely it is difficult. It is very rare to achieve. And that is why this process has to be done sincerely, regularly, actively. I again bring your attention to our previous class, wherein Prabhupada ji has clearly mentioned the importance of activity. Anushilanam, while he was talking about Anushilanam. What Prabhupada ji has mentioned in response to what Srila Rupa Goswami ji has written is, pure bhakti is only when you are actively involved in serving Krishna or Krishna's representative. If you are just meditating, if you are just chanting, you will not reach to the level of pure devotional service. You have to keep yourself continuously active, and then you will be there. And that is why this process has to continue. Many of us have studied in our schools and college. We see our children who are now going to schools and colleges. Whenever they have exam, they are studying. Throughout the year, they are studying, so that when the final year exam comes, they are able to pass it successfully. Similarly, our final exam is going to be that moment of death. And what is the process by which we'll get out of this cycle of Dehantar? If we remember Krishna at that point in proper manner, as we'll understand in our subsequent series. And to reach that, we have to do practice regularly. Just like a student studies throughout the year for the exam, similarly, we have to study every day, every moment, so that when that final exam of death comes, we are able to pass on this Bhavasagar successfully. A spiritual master takes us to Krishna, and that is something which is promised by him. So it is little difficult and it is rare to achieve. We have to be ready to achieve it. The fifth characteristic is the kind of pleasure that we are going to be getting when we move towards bhakti and move further and reach that stage of prema bhakti is incalculable. Nothing can calculate that pleasure. Because finally, it is a relationship which we are establishing directly with Krishna. Even in material world, you can see if the partners, the spouse, they're staying away. And the moment they listen to each other or they meet each other, the kind of pleasure they feel. Now we have become away from Krishna since so many ages, so many lifetimes. So the moment we establish our relationship with him, just think the kind of pleasure that we'll get. It's something which cannot be calculated. And so it is mentioned that one of the characteristics of pure devotional service is it gives you, it brings incalculable transcendental pleasure. And last, it is the only means to achieve Krishna. Krishna cannot be obtained by anyone. Krishna is not so cheap. We see students, we see people who argue, you are devotees, you say that Krishna exists. I have not seen God, I don't believe him. You show me God, I will believe in it. This is the experience which most of us would have already got. But then Krishna is not so cheap that you tell us, come in front of me and he'll come. No. He is, but at the same time, very, very kind. If you follow the process, then Krishna comes to us. Now, in this book itself, when we go further, we'll find the moment we have trained our tongue properly, Krishna swayameva sfurate adau, jivva adau. Krishna himself will appear automatically on our tongue. It's something which is promised and which has happened with so many devotees. So, bhakti, Shuddha prema bhakti is the only means by which Krishna can be achieved. There is no other. And the process to that, how to go ahead with that, is something which this book is teaching us. So these are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service which we started off. Klesagni, Shubhada, Moksha Laghukrata, Su-durlabha, Sandranandana-visesatma, and Shri Krishna-akarshini. So this is the detailed explanation of what these pure devotional service characteristics are. Now this lesson 1 is going to give us in more detail about each one of it. What we will be doing now is understanding the first aspect. So what was the first thing which we have understood here is that pure devotional service is going to give us relief from material distress. So when you read this book, which I am already sharing regularly with everyone, so when you go through it, you will find that Srila Rupa Goswami Ji has minutely analyzed the causes of suffering. So when we say we are in distress, what it means is we are suffering. So to prove that pure devotional service characteristic, that it gives us relief from material distress, in this chapter we will find that Rupa Goswami Ji gives us in detail how suffering has started. And he proves conclusively that only with bhakti, and that is one of the best options only available, by which we can get relieved from this material distress. So to understand it further, what becomes important is first we understand what is suffering and what are the causes of suffering. So this is an open question to everyone. I request everyone, I have given option to everyone to unmute if you require. And if you don't want to speak, you may write down in the chat box, what is suffering? What are the actual diseases that we are suffering from? Can someone speak? Or maybe you can write in the chat box as well. What is a suffering? What is our suffering? What are we suffering from? Can anyone tell? Please note, this has to be an interactive session. It's not a lecture. It's a discourse. We are talking. We are learning this particular aspect. So I request every one of you to participate. So if you can say anything, even if it is wrong, please make an effort. What do you think is a suffering? Can someone tell? Anyone? You can write in the chat box. Yes, Prabhuji.
Our material desires and our expectations and emotions and all this leads to suffering when they are not satisfied.
Okay, great. So Dr. Raghavendra Prabhuji is saying that it's a material desire and they not being satisfied is our suffering. We have one more response here wherein Nalini ji is saying that diabetes, stress, low BP, high BP, these are our sufferings. There are some who respond that the stress given by parents is suffering. Some say the children not listening to us is a suffering. Some say the spouse not caring for us is a suffering. Some will say the boss is a suffering. Some will say the employee is a suffering. Some will say this is a suffering. Some will say that is a suffering. What does suffering means? Suffering. Yes, Mataji.
Hello. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I
Yes,
just
Mataji.
want to tell you the meaning of the suffering. The meaning of the suffering is that the people is getting diverted from his or her dharma. Dharma means the basic and the most important dharma of the soul is the daya, kripa, karuna. It means the Devi Sampad, which the Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita, that everybody should try to acquire Devi Sampad and try to avoid acquiring the Asuri Sampad. So if the people is getting diverted and and they are not able to follow what the Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, so the people is committing the adharma, and this adharma is the suffering, and which creates a different kinds of the problems which you are talking about, like diabetes, BP, and all that. If we try to focus if we try to focus on what the Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, then definitely we'll be able to follow the path of the dharma, and then we'll be able to devoid of all these sufferings. So suffering is basically what we are, we are getting ourselves detached from what the Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that you have to follow the path of the you have to follow the path of akarm, you have to follow the path of the dharma. This is what the soul is all about. I know. I
Very,
don't know,
very near,
Prabhuji,
Mataji.
what I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. You are very, very near, and you have highlighted one of the most important aspects is that we don't follow our dharma, we don't follow our religion, and that is where everything comes in. But then the subsequent question which comes up is, what is dharma or what is religion? Let us see, there have been few more answers here, wherein we are seeing that attraction for material life. Yes, that is also one of the right answers. Desires, hypertension, every person is suffering, either they are rich or poor. Yes, that is also right. And people are torching you or your, I think there is some typing error there. and Shashvatam Dukkhalayam. Yes. So we are very near. We are directly saying what all sufferings are. Let us understand, but what is the real suffering? Would anyone else like to volunteer to say something? Anyone? Sakshi Shiromani Mataji or someone?
Hare Krishna,
Dr.
Dandat
Jyoti.
Pranam. When someone think that when we do the efforts for obtaining something as a goal to obtain in our life, we do the many efforts, but according that efforts we do not accept or obtain and do not reach to the goal. That is our suffering. But real suffering is Jalma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. When we understand the philosophy of the Vedic literature and scriptures, when we know what, who am I, why we are coming in this material world, how can I go out of from this material distress and dukkhalayam or shashvatam, it is said. What can I do for this? And then that way, when we trying to do, then we to be free from the real material suffering. That is Jalma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Sridhar Prabhuji, you wanted to say something.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Number one, material attachment. That the suffering is the main causes is the material attachment, and not satisfied with any of the things what we are doing in that. Even if we are finding that lectures and all, the next moment we'll do for the regular work. So that should not be there. To avoid all these things, we should follow the Krishna conscious. But how much we are following that, I don't know. But we should follow this, what I come to know from this lecture. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So let me summarize it this way. See, our suffering is that we are in this material world. So our entry itself to the material world is our suffering, because the only thing which is guaranteed here is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Nothing else is assured. And so this is our real suffering, that we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten what our real religion is. So when someone says that we have forgotten our dharma, it's not our religion or faith. Our dharma means what our actual position is. And our actual position is that we are in loving service of Krishna. We are servants of Krishna. That is our real dharma, that servitude. And the moment we have forgotten it, we have landed up in this material world, which is dukkhalayam shashvatam. And here we get only suffering of janma, mrityu, jara, and vyadhi. Birth is not something which is to be a occasion, which is very happy occasion. If you see even medical literature, and Bhagavatam in fact has given it millions of years ago to us, the way the baby grows, the cramped space in which it is there, the kind of juices which are flowing around him, the irritable position which he is in. So he is not at all happy. The fetal life is not at all good life. So he prays to Krishna, oh Krishna, please let me out of here. I promise I will not do this again. I will not come and ensure that I don't get into this cycle of birth again. Please relieve me from this right now. Then Krishna says, okay, you have got your lesson. You are praying to me. Tathastu. And then we get the birth. But see the cramped space from which we are being born. Any life form, not only human life form, any life form, And what happens? As soon as we are born, Maya attacks. It swoops on us. So there is Rajogun, Tamogun, Shuddhagun, Satogun. They are ready to capture us. They poke us. And we get attracted. We get attached. We see as soon as we are born. Someone is saying, cutie, cutie baby, you look like your papa. And then someone says, no, he looks like my daughter. No, he's like a mother. And our attachments start developing. And we forget what we have promised to Krishna. Paramatma, who is accompanying us, is saying, oh, you promised something, but you do not remember. No issues. One day you will remember. That time I will remind you. You have to go on the path of bhakti. So he's just waiting. Paramatma is waiting with us. Someday we will remember, but we don't remember. We keep on doing karmas, and there are results. As a result of that, when death comes, again, tatha dehantara prapti. So this is the suffering. And we have to get out of this suffering. Because unless we get out of this suffering, we will never be happy. So coming to the causes of suffering, so you will find, as I have just summarized here, the first lesson is giving us three causes: Papam, Bijam, and Avidya. So what are these? Papam means that whatever is the suffering, it is because of our improper material actions. We have done some actions. We have become attached to our parents. We have become attached to our siblings. And then we try to make them happy. We try to make ourselves happy by smiling, by crying as babies. When we are children, we do playful activities. So some or the other materialistic activities we are doing which are improper, which are not as we promised to Krishna. And then there are actual some sinful activities, papam. And so we suffer. Because every action has a reaction. Now, where are these actions coming from? Because finally, if you are doing some action, there has to be some reason for it. So that is where the second reason comes in of our suffering. That we have material desire. And that is called as the Bijam. So that is the seed. Our desires. We desire something. We want to achieve something. We want something. So we act to get that thing. And what this results in is our actions. And what does this action result in is we become attached. And we have this papam. Now, why have these desires coming? There has to be some source for desires also. So Srila Rupa Goswami ji goes further below. And he says, it's our avidya. It's our ignorance that we forget our true nature of being a living servant. And so we start desiring something or the other. And because we have got that ignorance, we create desires. Desires create sins. And sins create sufferings. So this is that cycle. I'll not say cycle, it's that cuff which is keeping us tied in this material world. Our ignorance, avidya, which gives rise to desires, which is the bijam, the desires, which give rise to actions, which is the sin or the papam. And as a result of that, we have sufferings. So this is how we are suffering. And the solution for that suffering is something which will continue in tomorrow's lecture because we have already completed our time today. I'll just take this one question with your permission for a couple of minutes more today. Mataji here has asked that even though we are in Krishna consciousness, why we are suffering? What is the reason behind that? The response to your question, Mataji, is there in front of you in this screen. We have ignorance. We have had ignorance. We had forgotten our original constitutional position. So, as a result of that, we have in our birth till now, not birth, millions of births that we have had in 84 lakh species. We have had some desires. So those desires have resulted in some actions. So all of those things, the earlier Bijam, the earlier Papam, they are all coming to us today. And we feel that we are suffering today, though we have become yogis. It's not suffering, Mataji. What you are thinking about is from a material anger about this body and the relations of this body. But true identity is we are spirit, soul, we are servant of Krishna. And now that we have understood this identity, and as we really progress, as we really become better devotees, as we really go into the depth of Krishna consciousness, slowly and steadily, all this is going to be done a marjanam. Everything is going to be cleansed off. All our bijam, all our kutam, all our papam, slowly and steadily is going to be cleansed. And when it is completely cleansed, we will come out of this. So we may feel, why not today? The answer is, as we progress further, we will understand. We have come to pre-primary school of bhakti. I said, not even pre-primary stage of bhakti. You have to first get into the pre-primary stage, then the primary, then we'll go to KG, the preparatory, first standard, second standard, and then we will come to a level where from this samanya bhakti that we are talking about today, we feel we are doing chanting, but that is samanya bhakti. Now to move from this samanya bhakti to the state of prema bhakti. So that is why I have been revising these slides. You will feel that why I repeated. This is the journey we have to go through, Mataji. Today we feel very conscious, but no, we have just started. We have not even started Samanya Bhakti. So we have to first understand Samanya Bhakti, imbibe it in our activities, then get into Sadhana Bhakti. And when that Sadhana Bhakti will get perfected, then we will go to a Bhava Bhakti, ecstasy. And then beyond that ecstasy is going to be the Prema Bhakti, the devotional service in love of God. And though we may feel that we are getting relieved from our sufferings in a stage between Samanya Bhakti and Sadhana Bhakti itself, we have to ensure we don't stop. We have to continue further. Because then the below come further, which makes us real something which will ensure it is Krishna-akarshini, something which will attract Krishna. And if Krishna gets attracted to our bhakti, he will take us back. So that is our view, which we are understanding from this book called as Nectar of Devotion. So we'll stop here for the day.